stepping into a new version of the warrior is both necessary and challenging in today's world.
Knights were charged with honoring women.
And a man's highest calling is to protect women so she can walk the earth unharmed.
I find it so important to have some level of structure that creates clarity around what direction you're going in.
Historically, through all sorts of cultures, initiation was a sacred practice.
Where do you think we lost this?
The pain is usually the catalyst that brings you to that point of, okay, and now I'll do whatever it takes.
Purpose. That's the biggest thing that I didn't even know I needed.
Are we at a point where we can allow vision to pull us into new territory?
Getting outside and getting on the earth. That's an amazing place to start.
Know thyself. You know how deep that is?
With Saturn and Neptune moving toward their conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries in 2026, we're being invited to co-create a new code for the masculine, a redefinition of the warrior archetype traditionally associated with Aries and Mars. In today's episode, we're bringing this invitation to life, not just in theory, but through lived experience. If you're here for technical astrology or a detailed forecast, this isn't that kind of an episode. But if you're curious about how the current cosmic climate is asking us to reimagine the warrior archetype, what it means to be strong, purposeful, and grounded in service, then you'll want to stick around. To explore this theme, we're doing things a little bit differently. You'll first hear from two of our teaching astrologers here at Astrology Hub, Christopher Renstrom and Divine Harmony, offering their perspectives on what this shift is really about astrologically. We've pulled clips from our 2025 forecast panel and a recent podcast episode to give you the astrological context behind the conversation. From the mythology of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table to Saturn's invitation into mature embodiment, their insights set the stage for a much needed reflection of the evolution of the masculine or yang energy. And then after we play those clips, I'm going to introduce you to two remarkable guests, John Kempf and Anthony Jensen, who are living this transformation from the inside out. They're not astrologers, but they are powerful mirrors of the archetypal shift that we're exploring. One blends yoga, movement, and spiritual study. The other integrates strength training with emotional wellness and nervous system regulation. Both are guiding men and women into a more conscious, embodied expression of the yang principle, one rooted in discipline, devotion, and deep care for the body temple. We talk about initiation, having a personal code, finding purpose, building community, and why stepping into a new version of the warrior is both necessary and challenging in today's world. Make sure you stick around until the end because John and Anthony will be extending a very special invitation for you to join them in their living yoga retreats happening here on Maui in September of 2025 and March of 2026. These in-person retreats will offer incredible opportunities for you to tap into your own inner strength and sense of purpose and do it all surrounded by the gorgeous landscape of Maui and the beautiful supportive souls who are on the same path. I would love to meet you at these retreats because I'll be contributing to them as well. You can wait until the end of the episode to learn more about them, but if you know you're interested now, go to astrologyhub.com/livingyoga to learn more and reserve your spot now. Spaces are extremely limited. We'd love to see you out here. If you're longing for a new story around the masculine principle and its role in the world, if you're navigating your own rite of passage or you're supporting others with theirs, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it and begin with the clips from Christopher Renstrom and Divine Harmony.
Aries is a sign very much associated with men, soldiers, knights. And we also have this idea of another aspect of Neptune in Aries, another mythology, so to speak, another image to keep in mind. And what I wanted to introduce was the oath of the Knights of the Round Table. I don't know how many of you are familiar with King Arthur He is a mythic figure from Britain, but he's really of Wales and Celtic. It's a collection of these beautiful, these extraordinary Welsh and Celtic myths that are surrounding this king who pulls a sword from the stone at a time of chaos, when there is no governance, when there is no true benevolent governance in the land. And he steps forward to bring this vision of unifying people. And he unifies them through the Knights of the Round Table, but they're not policemen, they're not thugs. They are knights that are sent out on quests to go out into the world to find themselves. And in a lot of ways, this quest for our own personal holy grail, our own connection to the mystic. The holy grail is the goblet of wine that Christ drinks from at the Last Supper, that is given to Joseph, who is the man who buries Christ in his tomb, and Christ rises from it. And so this holy grail was said to have been lost, found, and it brings a connection to the mystic, to God. And so this is one of the great quests that's connected to King Arthur, and that sort of mystical connection to God is something that's going to be clearly associated with Neptune. But there was this oath that the Knights of the Round Table took, and they always took it on the Pentecost. Okay, so this is early Christianity coming into pagan Wales and Ireland and things. But there was this oath that these knights took. These knights had weapons, they had javelins, they had swords, they had suits of armor. They were frightening and they were intimidating. They're often associated to our understanding of Mars, the ruler of Aries. But the oath that these Knights of the Round Table took was, first, no violence. No violence. No knight would commit murder, violence, or outrageous acts. Mercy. Each knight was charged with the assignment of showing mercy to those who asked for it. Treason. Knights would reject treason. They would reject betrayal. Honor. And this is specific, and this is coming from the 11th century. Knights were charged with honoring women, with respecting women, and with celebrating women, not demeaning them, not assaulting them, not treating them like, chattel, but this holding of women and honoring of women. Justice. Knights were given the job of upholding justice and to be fair to all. Loyalty. Knights were loyal in friendship and faithful in love. Generosity. Instead of might makes right, the Mars energy was done towards being generous to the poor and those in need. Forgiveness. Knights would forgive when asked and hope to be forgiven in turn for their own mistakes. Courtesy. Knights would live their lives with honor and courtesy. Help. Knights would help those in distress, especially widows, orphans, and gentlewomen. And battles. Knights would not fight in battles for love or material things. Okay, so this is a different code for the manosphere, okay? Or this is something that could be and should perhaps be reintroduced now to heal the wounds.
Aries actually has this amazing energy of protecting the feminine. And the land and the crops you can see as an aspect of the mother and Mother Earth. So he's protecting and guarding her. So there's a beautiful, sacred, divine masculine energy to Aries that I think we need to fully reclaim. And so, Saturn in Aries can be about the disciplining and mastering over this Aries archetypal energy, the shadow, rage, anger, conflict, dominance, but also the mastery of the higher octave of sacred protector, defender, the one who's willing to take a stand, the one who's willing to act on what he knows is true, or act on or from integrity, not react, but act. The Cherokee have a prophecy where it says, a woman's highest calling is to lead a man to his soul and to the divine, And a man's highest calling is to protect woman so she can walk the earth unharmed.
Oh my God.
So he's meant to protect her, and then she's meant to awaken the divine within him.
All right. So with me today, I have two young men that I adore and respect so much. And I'm so excited to introduce both of them to you and to have this conversation around actualizing the spiritual warrior and this idea of the warrior that Christopher is talking about, this knight, in a very different way than we've come to think of warriors and knights. And so I'm joined by two men who, to me, deeply embody this path. John Kempf is a holistic fitness and wellness coach, yoga teacher, author, and founder of Henosis Academy. He combines kinesiology, functional movement, and deep spiritual study to help people reconnect with nature, embody purpose, and awaken to the divine in everyday life. He's been teaching yoga and facilitating transformative retreats around the world for over a decade and brings a rare synthesis of discipline and devotion to everything he does. Also, with John is Anthony Jensen. Anthony is a strength coach and personal trainer. He's actually my personal trainer, my God, who works at the intersection of physical vitality and emotional wellness. He specializes in integrating mental health, nervous system regulation, and nonviolent communication into strength training, helping people feel strong, not just in their bodies, but in their lives. He's deeply committed to community, embodiment, and walking the talk of grounded, conscious masculinity. So these two men are powerhouses, but not in the way the world usually defines it. They're living examples of, to me, a new kind of warrior. And I'm so honored to have them here to explore these themes with us. So welcome, John. Welcome, Anthony. I'm so happy you're here.
Happy to be here. Grateful to be here.
All right. So let's talk about that clip from Christopher. What stood out to you the most? What was like that wow moment for you? John, let's start with you.
Yeah, I love the Knight's Code. I've been fascinated with mythology, especially like Greek mythology, since I was a kid. It really resonates. And the idea of the spiritual warrior it's so deeply a part of what I seek to embody. And I see it very similar to the path of mastery, where it's this, this destination that you'll never reach, but it's something that you're always aspiring to. And having a framework, a code of conduct, a map that helps you know what to do and what not to do on when you're on the path and you're not on the path, I think is so valuable. And actually in the creation of my own code of conduct that I embody personally or seek to embody and share within our community, the Knights Templar code is actually one of the codes that I used as inspiration, along with some other great resources, the yamas and the niyamas from the yoga philosophy, and the Bushido code of the samurai, which comes from the East. And so along with some inspiration of the Assyrian code of 9, which is a Viking code. And there's some key themes in all of these codes, and absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. That is what I used as inspiration to come up with my own code. And I really think it's very important to have somebody that loves structure. Myself, I find it so important to have some level of structure that creates clarity around what direction you're going in. And then that makes it easier to have boundaries around what's not in alignment with that, which leads to purposeful action. And purposeful action has meaning, which creates positive change, creates impact. And so hearing him talk about how these knights came together to, create a standard of living and devote themselves, commit themselves to that for the greater good of all, that's it. Like that's what excites me the most. That's like what brings meaning to my life is devoting to a cause that is bigger than myself. Like a quote that I love that I know you'll love too. I've been saving this one is, are you doing it for God or are you doing it for you?
Mm.
Because there's so many, especially in our space of fitness and wellness coaches and influencers and life coaches and all these experts and all of this in the industry, especially with social media. It's a lot of people that are doing it for themselves, doing it for followers, doing it for money, doing it for ego. And there's not a lot of spaces and people that are doing it out of a true devotion to the betterment of humanity, the stewardship of the earth, those qualities that I think are really you know, innate in all of the ethos of a spiritual warrior throughout culture, throughout time.
What do you guys like? Where do you think we lost this? And what do you think the impact of losing, like you said, John, structure, code, like clear direction, uh, like dedicating yourself to something outside of yourself? What do you think the impact of that has been? And this could be for John or Anthony. Anthony, if you want to take it, maybe you can start there. But you know, what do you see in the young men around you, in yourself, maybe even before you got on your own more clear path? What's the impact of that?
Yeah, that's actually perfect. That's kind of what I wanted to share about as well. The actual kind of the larger impact. Just hearing the code of conduct from Harmony, it's like Francis Weller kind of comes to my mind. He has a wonderful series called The Art of Initiation, which I highly recommend anyone check out. Everyone check out. I think that's coming back to your question. I think that's where we kind of diverged and lost ourselves in a way, lost our way, is initiation. Just that alone. Like when you go through an initiation, you go through, a period of trial or some sort of suffering, some sort of something that kind of transmutes yourself into a higher understanding of how to live. And what's, today's initiation, when you become of age, when you're 13 or 14, 15, 16, what is it for young men and women, right? For me, it was smoking, drinking, sex, and fighting. When you do those things, that's when you're a man. And how shallow is that? Where's the sustenance from that? There's no real, going into the soul with that. It's a very surface level way to say, yeah, I got this high over the weekend. I got this drunk. I got in this many fights. I got with this many women. It's like, wow, that's a sad way to look at it. And that's where I would say probably majority of the world is at, especially the young men out there. And historically, through all sorts of cultures, initiation was a sacred practice. And I'm going to butcher what Francis Weller, like his examples, but basically for one, I forget one tribe in Africa, when young women get their cycle, they are encased within like this clay dome, a slot to like obviously breathe, and they give them food and water and whatnot, but they literally encase themselves in a clay womb, go back and understand and sit with this process of what's going on, and then they crack it when it's done, and then they take them to the river, bathe them, and then they return to the tribe. They're seen as women now. Everyone knows that this is a woman now. Mm-hmm. Everyone respect that. And for the men, there's a couple different examples, but one where basically, when they start to get kind of rowdy and they start to get, a little edgy, and that that fire starts to come online a little bit more for them, they're basically cast out of the tribe. They're covered in ash. So whenever they are walking through the town or walking through the tribe, they're not supposed to be like looked at. They have a death for them. They have like a funeral for them. Like process this, like what life is like, outside of what you believe to be, true and right. The world keeps going, whether you are here or not, right?
So one of the things that Harmony brought in is that we're in this position now, since there is so much emphasis on the Aries archetype, to really move from the Aries or Mars energy that most people talk about. Even when they talk about Mars today, it's war, it's violence, it's aggression, it's dominance. And to me, that just shows collectively what we think about the masculine, that those are the attributes that in general are attributed to the more kind of yang energy. And what Harmony was talking about is a higher octave of the Aries energy or the Mars energy, and bringing in the idea of Aries as the sacred protector, as the defender. Even I loved in Christopher's example when he was talking about the code, and part of it was honor, and very specifically it was about honoring the feminine, honoring women and respecting them. And same, I love, Harmony also brought in this idea of the woman's role is to lead a man to his soul, to the divine, and his role is to make sure that she can walk the earth unharmed. So what do you guys think about these things? And Anthony, you just painted the perfect picture of what I think the initiation is for most men today. That what you said. I can drink now. I can smoke now. I can have sex. I can drive. Those things. What's it going to take for us to get from there to there? Initiation you brought up is one thing. What are the other ways that we can actually start moving in this direction? What happened for you guys? And what do you like? What do you teach the young men, the young women that come into your sphere in terms of how we can actually start moving in this direction collectively?
Yeah, that's beautiful. First thing, after hearing, Harmony speak on that, talking about the lands and Mother Earth and whatnot, stewardship comes first and foremost to my mind. And not just of the land, of course, that is a crucial part of it, but stewardship over this vessel, making sure that this amazing, divinely orchestrated machine that we get to embody is clear, clean, like if it's fogged up with all sorts of substances and all sorts of chemicals and hormones, screen time, all that stuff, it's hard to live and be in that sort of zone for a certain amount of time, and to just be in your body. You literally can't even feel into it when you're so clouded up here, and that eventually will cloud this as well. So everything, the whole thing gets kind of thrown up. So stewardship comes to my mind, and that's what I like to obviously preach to my clients, like you and everyone in the gym, whoever comes in. Yeah, it's always about like, oh, how do I get bigger arms? How do I get a butt? How do I get abs? That's great. That's a good thing to, keep in mind. How are you actually feeling? How is this actually feeling right now? What's your sleep like? What's the sunlight? What's your lifestyle? What are we eating? Like, are we nerfing or jerking, eating real food, not eating real food? Are we protecting our sleep? Let's cover those fundamental bases first, and then let's dive deeper into it. Let's sit with it. Let's meditate. Let's pray. Let's get some breath going. And stewarding this vessel first, I think, it's foundational. Without this, then we're kind of just drifting.
Body. I love it. Anthony, a lot of people have a stereotype of like gym bros who are just there like pumping iron and getting like muscles because they're so vain that that's what they spend their time doing. And I love how you guys have flipped this script, really. And I have to tell all of you, I was intimidated to go to this gym. And when I walked in, it was like the energetics alone were so not what I expected. There's these, yes, strong, strapping men and women at this gym, but there's kindness and there's like a warm embrace. There's encouragement and support. And there's a conversation happening about taking care of our bodies so we can actually be vessels. And it's like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting at all. So I love that you brought that in. So stewardship, but stewardship first and foremost of our physical bodies. How do you have that conversation with a young man? Is he just like, yeah, whatever? I mean, John, like, when you bring, how do you have that conversation with the 16, 17, 18, 20-year-old version of you? Like what part of him resonates with that or doesn't?
What comes to my mind is the creed for what I do. Shout out to Peter Twist. He's a internationally known strength and conditioning coach. I heard him speak at a summit in 2015, Perform Better Summit, and it was one of those life-changing moments for me, a really big one, because I grew up in a very traumatic environment of all kinds. It was a very rough childhood. There was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of unhealthy behaviors. I mean, you name it. At a point, me and my mom were homeless, and then we lived in a trailer. I slept on the floor in the living room. And so the biggest thing for me that was the catalyst on my journey, which I think is where most people come to at a point, is pain. You reach a certain level of contrast that says enough is enough. Okay, I'm ready to change. I'll do. You look up at the stars, you finally confess, I'll do whatever it takes. God, universe, somebody, like, help. What can I do? You reach that point, and that to me is what initiation does. That was the point, is you send the boy out into the Amazon forest or wherever with a dagger and nothing and say, figure it out. And you at a point have to surrender and trust in something outside of yourself, that there's some orchestration, there's something going on, because that brings meaning, that brings purpose to the past, to the pain. Because for me, I remember the moment, like one of my first moments of that initiation, of me initiating the change, is doing sit-ups in the trailer, listening to Godsmack on my Walkman, and just being like, if I ever have kids, I'll never give them this kind of life. I'll make sure this will never happen again. The trauma stops with me. The generational BS stops with me. No more. And I get goosebumps just thinking about that, of like, you reach a point where you're like, enough is enough. And to quote the Upanishads, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the first line is essentially can be translated to, now yoga begins. Now your training begins. Yoga means huge, to bring together, to yoke together, to bring back into relationship with, to bring into right relationship with. And this disconnect from the sacred, this connection from community, which Francis Weller speaks about as the two necessary components to create initiation. You need it to be sacred, and you need it to be done in community. And we've been through a larger collective, design, and also through intentional design and, man-made design to disconnect us from the sacred and from community. And it's very obvious to those that are awake, but to those that aren't, you don't know until you know. And the pain is usually the catalyst that brings you to that point of, okay, and now I'll do whatever it takes. And then your journey begins. And so to bring it back around to Peter Twist, the quote that he said that has stuck with me, and it's what I live to embody every day, and it's what I preach. One is a leader of many. If you cannot lead one, you cannot lead any. And that is it. That is it. Are you walking the walk or not? Because plenty of people are talking. We don't need, like we had discussed slightly before, of we have passed the age of information. The increase in the amount of information, like there's the statistics around the amount of information and stimuli that someone is exposed to now in a day is more than someone 100 years ago were exposed to in a lifetime. The amount of stress and information and stimuli. There's so much that we're being inundated with. It's not about information anymore. It's about application. It's about actually taking it back to the practices. That's why I love traditional Zenism and Taoism, where you've got these parables and proverbs that are know thyself. You know how deep that is? Know thyself. That is so, that's all, that's books and books and books and books
God,
right
we're
there.
talking to an
of the
astrology
journey.
audience. Yes, we know how deep that is. No,
Oh,
I mean, it's like it's endless. It's so vast. And so it's so important. Yes, 100%. What do you think the masculine, again, and I'm talking about the masculine in both male and female. I'm not just making this about men, but what do you think the masculine really craves deeply? Like what is the ultimate drive? You just mentioned expansion and growth. I also heard in what you said recognition. There was the looking to the pro athlete. I mean, the pro athlete is adored. The pro athlete is admired, is put on a pedestal. So there's like a certain level of recognition for his strength, for his prowess, for his capabilities, right? Like underneath it all, like Anthony, you're a teenager and you turn towards these substances and this. What were you craving underneath all of that?
A great question. That's perfect. And I think purpose is what comes to mind. That's the biggest thing that I didn't even know I needed, that I was looking for in these, external places and things and substances and people. Purpose. Something that I know that I can devote and commit myself to. And I didn't have that. For whatever reason, it wasn't my right time with it. So I think that's the first thing that comes to my mind is purpose. Like that's like when you don't have a purpose, man or woman, what are you shooting at, right? If you don't have something to actually aim at, you know? So purpose is definitely, that was the big one for me. I would even say most of my adult life as well. I didn't have a straight, clear purpose with what I wanted, what I desired. And, now that my beautiful baby girl is born, like, oh boy, do I know what purpose is? You know what I mean? And now just based off of that alone, making sure that she grows up in a beautiful, healthy, joyful environment with just surrounded by love that inspires me to, let's go up a level with my own self-care, with my own way of living, because now the purpose is hot and it's fiery. And that's where, wild, aimless, mindless internal fire can just harm others in the way and just kind of take the fuel away from others. Let's refine that fire, refine that purpose so we have a clear direction on where we're going.
John, you brought this up earlier too. This idea of purpose. You vowed that you wouldn't recreate when you have a family, you were going to do it differently. And there was some wisdom and intelligence in you that knew that had to start with you. I have to tell you, my father had a moment, same, where he grew up with an abusive father. There were, a lot of kids in his family. He was one of the oldest ones, responsible for a bunch of things. And he made that same vow. And I just want to tell you that he absolutely succeeded, that our family is night and day. Like my experience growing up is night and day from what he experienced. And I've had a recent experience even with my daughter where I was sharing some of the traumas that I had had growing up and some of the work that I had done on myself in order, and it had nothing to do with my family. It was actually more cultural. But some of the work that I had done on myself in order to transcend them, transmute them, to heal our lineage as females. And it was this moment where she looked at me and went, Mama, I don't have any of that. Like, I don't carry any of that. And I went, oh my God, it worked. Like, theoretically, when we're doing this work on ourselves, we're like thinking of our future children. We're thinking of, future generations. We're thinking of these things. And theoretically, we know we're healing ourselves, but to have that reflected back to me, like, no, it actually worked. Like, she doesn't carry this. It was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But aside from like your future children and your families, like what about like people who don't want to have kids? Like, are there other, I guess what I'm asking is, how do we create a sense of purpose, or not create, just remind people of a sense of like it's already seated in them. And maybe it is an element of timing, and maybe it is an element of like kind of needing to go through a certain amount of pain. But I also think we're at a point in time where that one of my favorite quotes is from a man named Michael Beckwith. I don't know if you guys know him. Yeah. He always says, and my podcast listeners have heard me say this many times, but pain pushes until vision pulls. No.
Yeah.
Collectively, as humans, are we there yet? Like, are we at a point where we can allow vision to pull us into new territory without having to be kicked around by all the other stuff? And maybe there's some element of like, yeah, we got to be kicked around a little bit, but like, can we also have these visions that are pulling us into new directions? And I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Now we're in. They're locked. This is what I believe now that I've reached that point, that quote, it resonates with me so deeply. That's so true. And I believe that we are, and I believe that there's certain people that are put here to create that experience and inspire others to reinforce and empower that belief, because that to me is like one of my greatest purposes of being here, is to be a guiding light in that sense, to empower and inspire others. Because if I can do it, guys, if I can do it from what I've do and how much of a fool I was and how far I went down the barrel to get to where I am now, to where I'm guided fully by my vision, by my inspiration, the spirit within expressing into the world, is absolutely a testament to anything is possible. Anyone can do it, because I feel that truly, that I am here as an example for people to see. I love the quote, do what you love and love what you do, because I think, like, just to hit your point of, once we can, and it takes some work, that's the work, is to get out ahead of it, to clear the fog, to clean the temple so the light can shine through and the vision can come through. But once you get that, once you connect with that, the passion is what fuels me, the passion to create that experience for myself, because it's so fun and so exciting to create from a place of inspiration. And I have found on my journey over the last decade, after going through my awakening, supporting of others and helping of others. Like, I love the idea that altruism is a myth, because when you help somebody else, there's actually a biochemical reaction that it's a little micro hit for you. So you selfishly are actually getting high helping other people, and you can't not do that. You're actually getting benefit no matter what when you help others. And when you find, that's why I love Ikigai, which can be translated for reason for being. It's this Japanese concept, and it has four pillars, 4 layers, 4 aspects. And I like to break it down as passion, skill, contribution or service, and then business, reciprocity, where all you have to do is start with doing what you love to do. And if you do that long enough, you're going to get good at it. Whatever you do a long time, you're going to get good at. And eventually, then once you get good at it, you just figure out how to make the world or humanity better by doing that. And then you find a way to structure it to where it provides you the resources to continue to do what you love. And
this is the kind of conversation we're having in the gym in between sets. And I love what you're bringing in about the body. And I really do feel with this emphasis in Aries that we're starting at. I mean, it is like the I am, like this is, I'm here. And so much of it is about our bodies, being in our bodies, embodied. And so, for anybody out there who's like, yes, I'm on fire. Like I want to do my mission. I want to do what I came here to do. I would love to hear from you. How many of you have experienced more and more awakening, more and more expansiveness, more and more clarity on your path by prioritizing your body, by taking walks, by eating cleaner food, by getting outside and getting some sunshine? How many, because I know for me, it's like essential. I mean, it is absolutely, without a doubt, it's hard to say the most important thing, but it's like, it is, like you said, Anthony, earlier, it's like the starting point. It's like the thing, it's the foundation. And I don't know if all of you can hear in their language, because our audience is probably trying to figure out your big three, at least. So John is a Virgo sun. Remind me of your moon and your rising again.
Cancer moon and Capricorn rising.
Cancer moon, Capricorn rising. And then Anthony's a Capricorn sun, Cancer moon, Pisces rising, right?
Believe so. I think John knows my chart better than I do.
I'm pretty sure Cancer moon, Pisces rising, because I'm always feeling his
You're right. It's like Capricorn and like heavy on water.
heavy water. Yeah. So I always feel like groundedness, but then I like feel as water too. It's like all together. But we had got some earth going here between us. Okay. Speaking of community, you guys have a passion for bringing people together. And this is another thing I'm very excited to share with all of you, because you've all heard me talking about, come to Maui. Someday I will have an event. Someday we'll have an event. I think I've been saying that someday I'll have an event for like, I don't know, 7 years. So these guys are actually having retreats. They're having events out here on Maui, and you're all invited. So if you guys want to tell them a little bit about the retreats, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I have really found a calling for creating community, and I feel like it's twofold. The in-person events are unbeatable because of being in proximity with each other and exchanging energy and physical touch, and like it's especially being out in some sacred places, like we do retreats in Peru, out here on Maui. There's the energy of these lands, being out disconnected from the matrix, the city, the blue light, out in the jungle. We're surrounded by nature and beauty, and that alone is so healing. Like nature is one of the greatest teachers, the greatest teacher. And so being able to bring people from environments, the concrete jungle environments, the matrix environments, and bring them out into nature is already sacred, going back to Francis Weller. And then bringing people together in a coherent container with structure and intention to create this initiatory process, this alchemical process of change and transformation and growth and connection, is honestly, I think it's one of the most beautiful things that we can do for the time period that we're in, because we can actually come together and practice. And this is my whole shtick as a yoga teacher. You don't see me in orange robes talking about yoga and using Sanskrit as language, because it's going to be disconnecting with most people in modern America. But make no mistake, my mission is to instill yoga as a way of living to everyone, going back to the codes of conduct of the ways that we can live in right relation with source, with self, and with each other, with all other beings in the cosmos. And so bring people together into a space where you can actually practice. What does that look like? Okay, yeah, you say move my body every day and exercise, but like, what are the actual things that I need to do to maintain optimal function of this vessel? You can actually come and practice that with us. We'll actually take you through what a workout looks like, what a work in looks like what a meditation practice looks like, what a yin practice versus a yang practice looks like. And we're doing it outside, grounded in nature, skin under the sun, and doing it with each other. Did you know social exercise is one of the greatest ways to elicit oxytocin in the human body? It's more so, I believe it's even more so than like petting dogs and hugging. You can actually release more oxytocin from social exercise. And you're starting to see how like community exercise, looking at cultures that live a long time, you're like, okay, this is starting to make sense. So the whole concept of what we're doing for retreats is living yoga, where you actually live in right relation and you get to come practice what that looks like. You get to eat healthy food, and we do cooking classes. So instead of just having some catered event where you're just eating different poo-poos off of the table, you actually are going to make the meal, and you're going to make different ingredients from the meal with each other. And then you bring it together and you share that meal together like we have for thousands of years through the evolution of culture. And that to me, and bringing in how food is spirit, and to connect to the sacred aspect of food. Food is from the land is what we tend, and then we pass on to future generations. And like, that's really present here more so than a lot of places in Maui and certain other, blue zone kind of areas where food just grows, and there's a lot more, connection to agriculture and the land, and taking care of regenerative farming and biodynamic organic agriculture. Like it matters. It's a value. It's a priority, just like our body is. You are what you eat. You are what you drink. You are the people you engage yourself with. So all of the information from our surrounding environment, we're being conscious of, and that's yoga. So we get to come together and actually practice what that looks like, and have beautiful teachers come and share in different ceremonial practices. And like a despacho ceremony is an Andean practice where you make a sacred offering of different things from the land, different plants and fruits and nuts and seeds. And then you set intentions, and you call in your team, and you call in your ancestors, and you set intentions for how you want your life to unfold from that point moving forward. It's that "and now yoga begins" moment where it's like, okay, I'm ready to make change. This is who I am and who I want to be moving forward. And then I think the biggest piece that is missing from a lot of retreats is following the retreat, the actual integration of first the ecstasy, then the laundry. People come and they get this really peak experience, and then they go home back into the 3D, and they're like, oh man, it was so dope. Like, and they want to go back and revisit that experience. But it's like, no, the whole game that we're playing now is actually integration, embodiment. The teachings are in the body. Intuitive downloads, infinite intelligence is coming through the soma. And if you move your body and clean your vessel, that information will move through you. And the more you practice keeping yourself clean and tuning into that information, the more you'll be able to receive it and integrate it and apply it. And then that's naturally what is the example that changes others. Be the change you wish to see. So going home after the retreat, having this peak experience and having this, hard time integrating, you're not in the same environment with the high vibe people. What was that recipe? What was that meditation technique? Oh, I don't have the group to do it with me every single day, so I fall off because of work and life. We're offering 12 weeks of coaching on our online community afterwards, where we continue to meet weekly as a team and share experiences and have the guidance of us coaches to be able to actually walk you through and remind you and keep you accountable with the practices that we all did together here on Maui for the next 12 weeks. So you have this whole 90-day cycle, this season to actually integrate after the retreat the practices that had the greatest impact on you. And I think that is the beauty of where we are now, is we get to merge the ancient tradition and wisdom of culture and community and nature and science and innovation and technology. Like the internet is mind-blowing if we use it correctly. All tools, fire, as it was invented, the first man with fire, a lot of houses burned down, a lot of forests, a lot of people died on accident, but now fire has evolved to where we are now. And the same thing with like internet and social media is, man, it can be a nasty, nasty spiral down into apathy and disconnection and isolation. But if we have it integrated in a conscious, intentional way that allows you to stay connected with the people that you were with in person, and we make sure that we're still meeting in person and having, opportunities to connect in sacred containers, but then also using the tools of technology to maintain this connection and share information across the planet instantaneously, like this podcast, we're getting the best of both worlds. And I think it's just remembering, staying rooted in the oneness and the nature and the wisdom and traditions of old that have gotten us here, while continuing to experiment and explore what we can do with the technology to, integrate into what modern life is. It's 2025, Seattle, Washington, Chicago. Like, you can't just go live in a cave and meditate every day. We have to actually embody the practices, live yoga in 2025. And I think that's the big that we're offering, is not only to come recharge and get re-inspired and reconnected, but then actually integrate and apply that practically in your real life, because consistency is the mother of mastery. We need to practice, practice, practice. In 7 days, don't expect to go to the gym for 7 days and lose 50 pounds. Don't expect to, practice Spanish for 7 days and be fluent in Spanish. You're going to have to keep practicing. But the beauty of consistency and compounding effect is 1% change for 100 days is 100% change times 3 months. That's 3 times. In one season, you can make a 300% return on investment if you're consistently applying 1% a day. That's so simple and so easy, but it can be so difficult and so daunting if there's so much information and no support to implement that. So I think that's where the in-person events and the online community and coaching really merge together beautifully.
Totally agree. So there's 2 dates, right? We have September 21st to the 27th is one of them. Are those the right dates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
Yep.
March of 2026, and this will be after the big conjunction between Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. So this is, to me, this would be an incredible way to like kick off a very new chapter of your life, of humanity's life. But I also love the idea of coming in September, if you can, and continuing to prepare for all these new beginnings that all of us are navigating right now. So if you want to come, we'll put the links in the show notes. And like John said, you're going to get the actual retreat, plus you're going to get the 12 weeks of coaching afterwards, so that you can successfully implement the things that you learn and the experiences you have in your world. The end result isn't that everyone needs to just move to Maui in order to experience these things. Although, well, we would love to have you here. And I would love to meet you too. So I am going to get to be at the retreat in September at different moments. And I would love to meet you. My hula teacher, who many of you have met on this platform, is going to be facilitating some hula workshops. So it's going to be really amazing and alive. And I'd love, love, love to meet any of you who can make it happen. We set up an easy link for you guys to get over to this retreat and to learn more about it. I want to make sure it was easy for you to remember. You can go to astrologyhub.com/living yoga. And then we're also going to put the link in the show notes. We're also going to put the link to Henosis Academy and the online community that Anthony and John both facilitate and run. Anthony and John, as far as embodying the spiritual warrior, actualizing the spiritual warrior, is there anything that you would want to leave the audience with for just like a starting point from your perspective?
Start with one thing. Doesn't have to be gym 5 times a week, redo my whole diet, redo my whole life. you're going to burn yourself out. I've done that before. Trying to do 5 different habits at once, I guarantee it's going to be bumpy and you'll probably want to stop and, oh, this sucks. Start with one thing. I suggest starting with maybe 1 or 2 things because you can kind of do both at the same time. Getting outside and getting on the earth. Get the sun in your eyes, get your feet on the grass, the dirt, the mud, and that's an amazing place to start. Try to do that if you can every single day. Sunrise, sunset. If you can make the time, start small. Set the bar low, right? You don't need to set the bar. Okay, I'm going to stand outside, get my feet on the earth for an hour every single day. Make it 5 minutes. Sunrise, sunset. Make it fun. I think that's probably the biggest thing too. Start easy and make it fun. Bring your community outside. Bring your loved ones outside with you. Like, invite each other on this journey. So it's not just you.
Yeah.
It was never meant to be just you. It never was. Let's do it together. It's way more fun that way. So follow your fun and just start and make it easy.
What about you, John?
It's so funny. This is why Anthony is my brother, and I love this guy because I'll share this story with you. It's a beautiful story. I was having a ceremony with 3 of my brothers that came to visit 2 years ago now at this point, and we were in Iao Valley, and we were in the river, and I'm literally standing on the riverbanks doing some qigong, just doing some turning, and we're all deep in process in the river, just like connecting with the land. And I would love to share another story too, but it's for another time, related to what Harmony shared of the masculine and the feminine. The brevity of it is, when I was in ceremony with ayahuasca a few years ago, I asked, what can I do to be of greatest service at this time? And I got this image of the sun looking down on the earth, providing warmth and light for all to grow, to thrive. And Gaia, the earth, this expression of the feminine, and the sun being the expression of the masculine. Being a man and just being able to witness life itself is like, makes me want to burst into tears right now. And like Anthony can attest to this. I don't have my own biological children, but I raised my niece and nephew when I was a teenager and they were babies. And so I have a very, very deep soft spot for children. And with the orphanages we work with in Peru, like, it goes deep. I love children and the youth. That's our future, the future generations. We have a saying in our community, FTK, for the kids. Everything is about for the kids. And going back to this image, there's this beautiful poem, I believe it's Hafiz, where he talks about how, look at the sun giving light and warmth to the earth, asking for nothing in return. Imagine what a love like that could do. And to be able to just watch life itself live and grow and thrive is enough. That's enough. That is the most beautiful gift that we as men can receive, is to watch the women and the children grow up in a safe, supportive container and express themselves fully in a way that's actually what is the most nourishing for us, as she said in her prophecy, because the yin energy that is emitted when someone is safe and supported and living from a place of purpose and meaning and joy, especially for those generators out there, human design, you're actually putting off this energy that is nourishment. The Shakti is the nourishment for us that fuels us, inspires us to like, man, I want to protect this. This is so sacred, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Cause like, yeah, I've chosen gardening, but if you try to come mess with my garden, boy, you better be ready, cause you ain't messing with my plants. You ain't messing with my women and my children. I love them way too much to be able to sit there and just watch life grow itself. So the answer I got of how can I be of most support is, I said I wasn't going to tell the story, I'm telling the story, is listen to and support the feminine. The message I got, and it was so funny with that Harmony clip, because it was literally exactly what she said as the prophecy that I received from ayahuasca in ceremony, is just listen to and support the feminine. And that's the earth, that's the women and children of the earth, that's our own bodies, our own physical body. Listen to body. what is the best way that I can nourish you and support your growth and expansion and well-being today? And so I'm sitting on the riverbank, I'm doing Qigong. I'm like, what now? What's the download now? What's the next, how can I be of most support now? What's the best way I can listen to and support the feminine? What's the way I can practically apply this in some sort of method that brings benefit to my community here on Maui and to the people I work with? And the 4 words that came through, you'll love this. This is literally what we both just said: movement, nature, community, play. I'm literally sitting there doing twisting, and it's movement, nature, community, play. Movement, nature, community, play. Connect with the earth, connect with the natural intelligence all around you. Move your body, open your body, do it with people that you love, and have a good time playing while you do it. And that's going to be, I think, the greatest medicine and teacher and evolution for humanity that we need. And it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Instead of like get the prescription tablet out and like write down, well, you got to do this at this time of day for 20 minutes and da-da-da. Movement, nature, community, play. Movement, nature, community, play. Me and Anthony and the boys, every once in a while, we go out to Poli and we just play disc golf. We just throw frisbees around, and it's one of the greatest medicines and greatest times for us, since we haven't been out in a while, since he's had baby Charlotte. But that was one of our greatest connection moments and memories as grown men going and throwing plastic discs around in a forest, of like, how special is that? Movement, nature, community, play. So any way that you can do that and foster those opportunities in your own local community, grab a couple people, go outside, throw the football around, throw the frisbee around, play, move your body, breathe, connect, have a good time. Like that's it. That's the greatest medicine right there.
Thank you, men, so much for coming and sharing your perspective, for sharing your enthusiasm, your passion, your joy. Thank you for the invitation to this community to join you in that out here on Maui. I just love everything that you said. Thank you. I mean, if you out there just take like one thing and apply it, like these are the kinds of things that create the ripple effects, the 1%, right? The 1% that just totally can change your trajectory. So thank you for this. If you liked this episode, please share it. Please let us know. Leave your comments. It has been such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Just a reminder to keep your feet on the ground and your eyes to the sky. And I cannot wait to connect with you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.